All right, guys, we're back. This is after an overnight and about half morning worth of drying. As you can see, that skull is so nice and white, beautiful. I got a little bit around the bases, but not enough to change a ton of color, so it still looks really natural. I won't touch that up just because if I try to, it'll most likely end up being too dark and it'll look weird. The jaw came out perfectly. It didn't break or anything. He was definitely an old enough deer to where that seam right there didn't break in half. We will still put kind of some support glue in there just in case it ever does get knocked and moved around at all. It won't break. All of his teeth are still intact, which is awesome. Didn't have to go digging for those. A lot of times if you do this lower jaw, those front teeth will fall out just because there's not a whole lot holding them in. You can see that. You can really see that, how long and protruded those front teeth are. So, also a goal on this channel is to share my mistakes so you guys can at least be warned about them and be concerned with that happening when you do this stuff yourself or in any type of hunting situation. I'm an open book, especially on this channel. So hi Ram. I'm gonna just share a couple mistakes I made and what I'm gonna do next time to prevent them. So you can, are you done? Thank you. So you guys can prevent them when you do this stuff yourself. By the way, if you guys haven't watched my bird hunt with Ram, I'll link it up here. It's so much fun. Go watch that and check it out. He does awesome, and I solo film it, so it's kind of a blast for me anyways. But let's get on to the mistakes I made here real quick, and I'll show you exactly where I made them, why I made them, and how I made them, and how I actually recovered from them. So the lower jaw, we did good. There's just, in that little crack right there, you kind of have to take what you get. I sprayed it out as best as I can, but there still is a little bit of meat in there. It was either that or risk breaking it with the pressure washer because, like I said, that's very thin. I got all the meat out of the holes in there, which if you blow down, there's a hole right there, a hole right there, and it runs through this entire jaw. If you blow out the entrance and the exit on that, it gets all the gunk out of there. We did that. That's really good to do and a must do on these lower jaws. Now, for the biggest mistake I made on the skull, and I'm going to show you another one here real quick to compare. This is my girlfriend's first deer, as you can see, the lower jaw. So that's going to be the finished product. But as you can see on this deer, it's got all that intranasal cavity, all this right here, all that really thin bone. It has that. And I was able to get all the nasty nasal cavity out without tearing that up. So that's what we wanted to do. But I messed up and ended up not being able to get all the nasal cavity out and broke a bunch of it in there to where I really couldn't recover from it. So what I did was I broke it off really nice and clean to the very base of those little bones in there, and it actually looks pretty cool opened up like that. So if you end up finding yourself in that situation where all those little bones are broken and it just looks kind of trashy, feel free to break it up. It doesn't look terrible. 99% of people won't even notice unless they do this stuff themselves. So that's a way to recover from that. Also, there is a little bone back here back here, there's supposed to be a little bridge that breaks off a lot on just about every skull I've done. It has almost broken off, except for the older deer and the bull elk I did. That'll almost always break, but you can't see it from the front view, which is how these are going to be hanging. Finally, the other mistake I made was I just didn't pay close enough attention to my skull after I got it out of the peroxide bath. There was still a couple little chunks that I could have sprayed off while it was still warm, but I noticed some today. So how I recovered from that is I took my forceps here and I just started pulling at it, and it's just a nice little meaty chunk about that big, and we ended up getting it out. So you can recover from a lot of this stuff and still make this skull look really nice and clean. It's just takes a lot of work, and you have to be really, really particular with it. But in the end, unless your guests or whoever's looking at it are really, really picky, they won't notice, and it'll end up looking very nice like this, and it'll save you a lot of money. So now we're going to get to the actual attaching the skull part, or the lower jaw. And this part's super easy. You just follow the body mechanics of the deer itself. So what you have is this jawbone, like every jaw, it hinges. Okay? And there's a socket in these deer to where this fits perfectly. So when a deer actually opens and closes its jaw to eat, it just hinges on it. All you have to do is just stick them together, and boom. It literally makes a, you can literally just see the exact spot that this jaw goes. It can't go anywhere else. It doesn't go anywhere else. And it just fits just like that. Okay. Now, you're wondering, Cole, how are we going to keep these on? Keep it on so it doesn't fall off when we hang it. Well, pretty much any type of clear, strong glue. Last one I did, that one up there, I did with super glue. So you can use super glue, epoxy, I think even Gorilla Glue is clear. But today, I'm going to actually try to use my vein glue from my arrows. So we're just going to open this up. And all you want to do is every single spot this jaw touches to the skull, you want to put a bead of glue there. And you're just going to let it sit and dry. Take your time with it, and make sure that that jaw will actually stay on there when you pick it up. But first, like I said, we're going to make sure that we put a bead right in that break. That natural break that these deer have in their jaw. And this will just make sure that if anything ever bumps it or happens to it, that, or just over time it ages and wears, that this jaw won't break in half. And that's all we did, okay? That's it. Just a nice little bead in there. You can even go on the back side here. We'll just go right on the back side too. And we'll fill that gap. Just a bead of glue. And run it down. So that's all you got to do with the lower jaw. What we're going to do is we're going to let this sit and dry for now. Just turn it upside down just like that. Okay, and this thing will dry here in 20 minutes or so. We're going to come back, and after that's all nice and dry, we're gonna attach it to the skull. So we're gonna let this dry and be back in a few minutes. All right, guys, we got this. It's not fully dry yet, but it's in a place to where we can attach it without having glue everywhere. So like I said, pretty much this jaw fits in one place and only one place, and it's really hard to mess it up. But what you want to make sure of is when you're gluing this on is you have solid contact through that whole jaw, and even the teeth will touch up here on this nose, and I like to even put a drop of glue right there so that nose has a little bit of support there. All right, so we have our jaw here. The jaw socket's right here and here, and this thing just pretty much slides right in there, and you can see the exact spot that it fits. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna put our glue right where it makes contact with the bone. Since it's on the back side of this skull, don't worry about it looking trashy or anything, and just make it as put as much as you need to where it doesn't drip off a ton and make streaks, but so it has a good solid seal on it and a connection with this jaw. So what we do here is just take our glue, and right where that jaw was connecting, put a good bead all the way up it, and same thing on the other side here. Good bead, and then we're gonna put that just like that, and then finish up going around where everything connects at. Now here's the tricky part, is finding something to lay this up against so it gets the proper seal. If you have something to tie the jaw to the back of, or tie the jaw down, such as a piece of string or something, use that. But if not, then you just need to find a place to where you can prop this up properly and it'll sit how it's supposed to naturally sit. So let's go find a place here. Alright, as you guys can see, I just had a chair here. I put a piece of paper on it so if any glue does drip down, it doesn't get on the chair. But this skull is sitting how it naturally would sit with the lower jaw. So we're just going to let this dry for the day. If you need to add more glue, add more glue. If you don't, that's great too. What we want is this jaw to not move at all when you pick it up. If you pick it up and it moves or falls off, then you'll want to put either a different style of glue on it or more glue. So just be patient with it, let it fully dry for an entire day, if not 2 days, and then you're able to hang it or do whatever you want with it. And there you have it, European mount with the lower jaw. It's white, it's pretty, horns are all natural, didn't have to do any work on them, and it just looks fantastic. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below if you're going to try this with your next Euro mount. And do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I hope you guys are having a great season. Good luck and be safe.